primarily much of your work has been on the radio over the years, hasn't it? I mean, I know you've had a very long-standing role in the Archers, but you've done so much more as well. How did you get into that line of work?
Well, as an actor, I felt it was the forte, the genre I wanted to work in best. I think I was 10, and my father had been posted. He was an RAF officer, and we'd been posted out to Aden at the end of the Yemen. And my mother was working with AFBA, the Aden Forces Broadcasting Network. And they used to get these massive transcription discs sent out from London with the Goon Show on, right? And she had to listen to them to make sure that there weren't splits and warps and things like that before they went out to the troops. And I used to sit in the studio and listen. And I just had a kind of photographic oral memory. And I still remember, it was that made me realize the power of radio. There was an episode with where Neddy Seagon had to get to South America, case of the Lone Banana. So he goes to Henry Crunn's shipping office. And he says, I want to go to South America. Right, I better get some details. And name? Seagon. How do you spell it? S-C-A-G-O-O-N. S-E-A-G-O-O-N. Oh, address? 22 Balls Pond Road. 22. And this goes on and on and on. But eventually he says, it's no good, you know. I'm going to have to get a pencil and write all this down.
Brilliant.
Ducked into this. You'd seen it all, you know. And I thought, that is the power of radio. That is what you can do with radio. And for me, as an actor, I think, well, hell, I can play parts on radio I'd never be able to play physically in life because I just don't look like that person. You know, I'm not that age, I'm not that build, whatever it may be. But I can do it on radio because vocally I can do the voice that is necessary for that role, or to present that role for somebody else to fill in the details in their mind.
The added advantage of working on radio, and especially in a program like The Archers, which has got such a huge following, but you didn't really get recognized on the street.
No, perfect. Absolutely. Yeah, I could go on buses, I could go around the supermarket. I didn't have to chase around in cabs avoiding people. No. And no, it's interesting. The only person who ever recognized me, I was in a lift with somebody and they were talking, and they were blind, you know, and we were chatting away about something or other. She said, are you Mike Tucker from The Archers? I said, how do you know? She said, I can hear it in your voice.
Wow.
She heard Mike in the way I was normally talking, which wasn't like Mike. But she heard the cadences in my delivery that she said, you're Mike Tucker. I said, yeah, I am.
Wow.
And that's the only time I've actually been recognized. Yeah.
A decade later in the 80s, you were chosen to be the third Davros in Doctor Who. Now, you still weren't physically seen, were you? Because you were hiding behind prosthetic. And many years ago, I met Michael Wisher, who played the original Davros. Yeah. And Michael had an ability, because I always thought Davros's voice sounded quite electronic, but he could do that without the electronics. Is that how you approached it? Did you have your vocals enhanced at all to do that?
Absolutely. I mean, I was a fanboy. I was 16 when Doctor Who started. So front and centre, I was a fan of Doctor Who with Hartnell and Troughton. Yeah. I then totally missed John Pertwee and Tom Baker because I was at university, I was off working, we didn't have videos and all that sort of stuff. So I never saw any of it. So when I was asked to do Davros by Matthew Robinson, who I just finished working with at TVS for 6 months, apparently there'd been a BBC technician strike. So they were going to do Resurrection of the Daleks with Michael and a particular director, but everything was put back a month, by which time Michael was in Australia, the director was on another project. So Matthew Robinson came in. He knew I could do voices because I'd been doing this radio station thing called Radio Phoenix, playing a sort of a Tony Blackburn smashy and nicey character. And he rang me up. He said, "You know Doctor Who?" I said, "Yeah, of course I do. I grew up with it, you know."
Hmm.
So you know all about the Daleks? I said, "Yeah, of course I do." And Davros, I went, "Who?" "The creator of the Daleks." I said, "Really? No, no," because that had been in Tom's era. I
Yeah,
hadn't
you've
seen
missed
it.
that. Yeah.
So he brought me down and put me in front of Genesis and said, this is it, you know.
Yeah.
And you do that. And I thought, well, yeah, because it's basically an audio performance behind a mask.
Yeah.
You've got to get it through that mask. And in those days, the masks were so immobile, you
Yeah.
know, they were foam latex, so there was very little movement in them, unlike the
Mm.
prosthetics today. So I based it on what Michael had done with his voice.
Mm.
And I found that actually by wearing the mask, it informed the way the character worked, because you had to work really hard to get any movement on the outside of the mask
Mm.
when you spoke. So you'd automatically got this pedantic way of speaking, and then all
Mm.
you had to do was bring the tone down a bit and get a little psychotic. And before
Yeah.
Lord Davros was there, and the doctor had to be exterminated.
Wonderful.
Add a bit of electronics on top of that, and you're done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and I just thought it was a 2-week job, and then Michael would be back. But no, they kept on bringing me back, and
That's wonderful. And you're also in front of the camera in Attack of the Cybermen as well. We actually
oh
did
yeah,
get to see you as well, didn't we?
that was another of my Matthew Robbins. He says, "Do you want to, you know, be a real person?" And that's when I first met Colin.
Yeah.
That was the first show we met on, was Attack, and then obviously into Revelation of the Daleks together.
Yeah.
And we took it from there, really. And of course, Big Finish came in after the classic series closed,
Mm.
and I got swept into that as Davros, the voice of, and has been ever since, you know. So I may have only been on screen 3 times, but I've probably done Davros about 20 times with various Big Finishes. And a stage play which we did called The Trial of Davros for Children in Need.
Yeah.